Start a new series at Citi Field. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the San Diego Padres. Tuesday Night Baseball is presented by Verizon. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets open a 3-game series against the San Diego Padres. The Padres a couple of years ago went in go-for-it mode, brought in a lot of high-priced free agents. They have completely changed their tone over the last 24 months. Now they are a rebuilding team with a couple of good parts for the future, but really struggling this year.
Really, Gary, that's exactly what they did. They brought in names like Matt Kemp, and they traded for Craig Kimbrell. James Shields signed a huge contract. It did not work out. So they've traded those players. They've gotten pieces back. The only problem is the pieces haven't come quick enough. So they've struggled out of the gate. They're 16-30. They've got some talented players here. The one thing you're going to see, though, from this ball club that makes them dangerous, they have one real good player, and Will Myers, and they have a lot of guys with a lot of power.
Yeah, they hit a lot of home runs, don't hit for a very high average. The Mets will have Matt Harvey on the mound. First time on the Citi Field mound since his suspension. He's made 2 road starts since then and has made a little bit of progress.
Well, I think in watching Matt's games, I think that he's won some battles, but he certainly has lost the wars in those games. His ERA the last 4 starts is around 9. So you can't get past that. He's got to get much better. How does he do that? Well, swing and misses is something I'm going to be looking for tonight, and the slider control will be something that will be very important for Harvey this evening.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Verizon, the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in America. By Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. By Cadillac, visit CadillacTristate.com for exceptional offers. And by Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. It's the Mets and the Padres opening a 3-game series at Citi Field. All the action coming your way tonight on SNY. Friday, June 2nd for Free Shirt Friday when the Mets take on the Pirates at 7:10. All fans in attendance will receive a Jacob deGrom t-shirt courtesy of Empire City Casino. For tickets, visit Mets.com/FreeShirtFridays. Tonight's quote of the game is presented by Investors Bank. Banking in your best interest, and with the Padres in town, what better than a Tony Gwynn quote? Not a lot of frosting on what he's doing. Take the swing, don't muscle it, generate bat speed. 338 lifetime hitter.
He only hit 441 off me, so he must have been in that hitting position a lot.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Verizon. Only Verizon makes Tuesday night baseball better by rewarding their customers with exclusive ballpark access and experiences. Visit sny.tv/Verizon to learn how you can get access and rewards like these lucky fans. It's the Mets and the Padres. Matt Harvey on the mound tonight. His first time back at Citi Field since the suspension. His first pitch is coming right up.
Of baseball.
Well, it's been nearly 4 weeks since he's been seen on Broadway or even off Broadway. But Matt Harvey's back on the Citi Field mound tonight, and his fans are intrigued to see which Matt Harvey takes the mound for the Mets on this Tuesday night. And there he is, number 33, not in blue tonight, but in pinstripes.
Changing the luck a little bit. I like to see that.
Matt Harvey and the Mets taking on the San Diego Padres in the opener of a 3-game series. And after 3 straight road starts, Matt faces the weakest lineup in the National League. There's the Padres lineup brought to you by Hyundai. They've got a couple of surprising young players in Manuel Margot and Hunter Renfroe, who look like they could be future stars. Will Myers is the anchor of that Padre lineup. Ryan Schimpf, a guy who had a huge game here at Citi Field last year, low average but high home run hitter, and all going up against Harvey tonight.
Their Land Rover numbers are not pretty for Matt so far, but couldn't get a better team to pitch against right now. They're 16-30, scuffling a little bit to score runs. They do hit the home run, like we said in the open, but they also strike out a lot. So a good start, first one after suspension gate.
The Padres won their last game, but they had lost 5 in a row before that. They're 16-30 on the season, sitting in last place in the National League West, 13 games behind the front-running Rockies. Very much a rebuilding year for San Diego, and the guy who leads off, 22-year-old Manuel Margot, a big part of that rebuilding. Speedy center fielder, hitting a .264, set to lead off, and Matt Harvey ready for his first pitch of the night, and it's outside and low, and we're underway. Margot, then Yangervis Solarte and Will Myers against Harvey, who last pitched against Arizona Wednesday afternoon in Phoenix. Went 5 1/3, allowed 3 runs, 6 hits. Felt as though his mechanics were a little sharper than they had been in his previous couple of starts in Atlanta and Milwaukee.
I liked a lot of what I saw. I watched that game. He still has not had the ability to put hitters away the way he did in the past. That's going to have to get better.
The alarming numbers for Harvey as he falls behind Margot 3-0. His strikeout rate is the lowest of its career, 6.2 per 9, and the home run rate is just outrageously high. Matt had a unique ability, even last year when he was struggling to keep the ball in the ballpark. Over his 4 years in the big leagues before this one, he averaged 0.7 home runs per 9. This year it's triple, 2.2 home runs per 9 innings this season.
And his walks are up per 9 also.
And there's a strike. Margot thought it might have been ball 4, but Bruce Dreckman calls him back, and it's 3-2.
Close pitch, pitch that Margot leading off will take. Not a bad pitch to take.
Three-two coming, and Margot strikes out on the fastball, and Harvey has a K to start the night.
That 3-0 count was a good wake-up call there for Matt Harvey. Comes back with 2 pitches, and then this one had a little extra on it as Margot swung underneath it for his 37th strikeout in the leadoff spot.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now the switch hitting Yangervis Solarte. Played mostly third base for the Padres last year. He's kind of swapped with Ryan Schimpf. Solarte now playing second base, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Solarte not having as good year as last year, but you can understand he's been through the worst kind of personal tragedy. His wife passed away in September of last year after a battle with cancer, and he's had to remake his life. Going
through it last year, trying to, he took some extended leaves of absence this year, trying to be a single dad and hit 300. Not very easy.
Harvey's thrown 5 straight strikes after falling behind his first hitter 3-0, and that's outside to Solarte. Solarte acquired from the Yankees in the Chase Headley trade 3 years ago. Will Myers waiting on deck. Myers, the one established star in this San Diego batting order. And the changeup misses, 2-2. Two coming, and Solarte pops it up. Reyes takes charge of it, and that's the second out.
Well, defensively for the Mets, Conforto, Granderson, and Bruce in the outfield. Great throw by Conforto in Sunday's game to nail a runner at the plate. Flores, Reyes with Cabrera out, Walker, Duda, and Rene Rivera still behind the plate. It looks like Travis d'Arnaud might be back to the ball club soon.
Travis, they had thought might be back tonight, but he's going to catch for Las Vegas tonight. Going to catch Steven Matz as he makes his second rehab start, and perhaps after that Travis will return to the Mets.
Games in Red Rock, right, in Texas.
I thought it was in New Orleans.
Oh, maybe.
Did I get that wrong?
Maybe.
Myers slashing one foul, and it's 0-2. Will Myers last year an all-star for the first time, 28 home runs, 94 driven in. Is 26 years old, former American League Rookie of the Year.
You were saying before the game, really kind of the straight-up trade for the Rays. Myers for Steven Souza Jr. Souza's a good player, certainly not a Will Myers.
Three-way trade with Tampa Bay and Washington, and another guy who was involved in that trade is right next to Myers. That's Rene Rivera.
Right.
He was in that deal as well. Went from San Diego to Tampa Bay.
No batting gloves, classic stance.
Fouls one off his leg, and it's still 1-2.
Myers is a tall, kind of wiry, but don't let that deceive you. As you see his baseball card, first home run off CC, Rookie of the Year, All-Star. He's got tremendous power, coast to coast, left field to right and right center. Came up as an outfielder, played center field for a while, now has settled in at first.
He hooks this one in the air to left. Conforto right there waiting for it. And that retires the side, so Harvey starts his night with a 1-2-3 opening inning. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. New York. Conforto remains at the top of the batting order, and why not with all the success he's enjoyed leading off. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup. Wilmer Flores gets another crack at third base against a right-hander today. His hitting against right-handers has perked up considerably. Otherwise, the same lineup for the Mets. Reyes back in there after missing one game with a tight rib cage, and there's the veteran Jhoulys Chacín.
See his Toyota numbers. He has been great at home, but on the road his ERA is 8.77, 0.67 at home.
Conforto went 4 for 9 in the series against the Angels with a couple of doubles and a home run. Starts the night 9th in the National League in on-base percentage and 5th in the league in slugging. And the Padres employ a full shift against Conforto from the first pitch.
That was very interesting. I'm sure that it made Conforto think might be one of the reasons he's down 0-2.
Andy Green, the youthful manager of the Padres, second youngest manager in the major leagues.
Is he 40 yet?
I think he just, no, he's going to turn 40 in July.
So he's still in his 30s.
Kevin Cash with Tampa Bay is the only younger big league manager. He knew what he signed up for. He signed up for a rebuilding project. Chacín misses with a curveball, 1-2.
He did, Gary, but he's been much feistier with his team this year than last year. Kind of, you know, watched his team, saw what was what. But this year he's been kind of riding the whip, going to the whip, sorry, more often than last year.
Luis Chacín, longtime Colorado Rocky. The Mets saw him in a Braves uniform last year, and when they did, they hit him awfully hard. Gave up 4 home runs in a start here for the Braves last year. Conforto whacks one foul.
Should be the greatest boot camp in the world for major league pitcher, having to spend some time in Colorado. After that, it should be smooth sailing. Chacín he is a journeyman pitcher, but he can have outstanding games. He has that slider working. He can have one of those A games.
There is that slider, and Conforto fouls it off. See his lifetime record, considering the fact that most of his career was spent pitching at Coors Field. That ERA under 4 is awfully impressive.
145th start in the major leagues. In Colorado, he was 38-48, which wasn't bad considering some of the teams he pitched for.
Again, the 1-2, and the curveball fouled off. Last year, Chacín split his year between the Braves and the Angels, 6-8, 4.81. Not his best season by any means. And now a Padre in a rotation is down a couple of important pitchers. Trevor Cahill, Jared Weaver, both on the sidelines right now. And Conforto continues to foul him off. He's already seen 9 pitches in this at bat and still going.
I mean, you can't ask more from your leadoff hitter. It gets down 0-2 and just fights tooth and nail to stay in the at bat.
Jose Reyes on deck. Jay Bruce in the hole. Luis Chacín, now 29 years old. Pitched for Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic. In fact, he was their ace. Pitched more innings than any other Venezuelan pitcher in the tournament.
He's got the arrow on the left forearm. That makes sure you know where to put the glove on, Gary. It's very important for those tattoos.
Got to point you in the right direction.
Glove here.
Conforto drives one deep right field. Back goes Renfroe onto the warning track. Back at the bullpen fence. It's out of here. Michael Conforto, a leadoff home run on the 10th pitch of the at bat. And just like that, the Mets have a 1-0 lead. Twelfth home run of the year for Conforto. He regains the club lead. And his run of success in the first inning just keeps growing. His 7th first inning home run this year.
7th home run, 11 for 23 in the first inning. Walks, runs scored, doing it all. I hear talk all the time of moving him out of that leadoff spot. Don't do anything until something changes. Well, he fouled off a lot of difficult breaking pitches. He got one to his liking, and he didn't get all of it, but it shows you how strong this young man is.
His 4th leadoff home run. Last year it was Curtis Granderson who specialized in leadoff home runs. Jose Reyes has had that role, and now it's Conforto. That Mets home run means $2,000, enough for no kid hungry to provide 20,000 meals courtesy of Citi.
Well, his loading of that bat, and what I mean ability to get that bat back and then through the zone. The bat speed he generates is good. Probably second on the team to Cespedes.
And Reyes follows with a base hit number 2003 in Jose's career. First time we've seen him on the field since Saturday night when he reached the milestone of 2,000 hits.
What do you have on Sunday? A little rib cage or something?
8 rib cage is the way it was described.
Okay, fastball up, pulls it in the hole. No shift for Reyes like they had for Conforto. So the ground ball through the hole that you rarely see anymore, a base hit.
So 2 straight hits to start the opening inning. And now Jay Bruce. Jay hit a 3-run homer on Sunday as the Mets tried to come from far back. Notable only because he's 3 for his last 30. And he takes the first pitch curveball for a strike. Jay has been in one of those slumps that has characterized his career. He's been a very streaky hitter. We've seen him at his hottest. He was that for the first 5 weeks of the season, and now the last 2 he has cooled down. And they shift even more dramatically against him. He lifts one foul, 0-2.
He reminds me very much of Curtis Granderson, because what happens with Curtis when he struggles, and I'm not talking about this year, first 3 years, he swings at pitches out of the strike zone. To me, that's what happens with Jay.
Curtis has been showing signs of life the last week or so. Timing couldn't be better for Curtis with Yoenis Cespedes on the horizon, maybe less than a week away.
It's funny how those things go hand in hand, don't they?
Fastball away to Bruce, 1-2. Interestingly, and we were talking about this on Sunday, if Curtis gets it going, a guy who might be affected by that is Jay Bruce, because he might be asked to play first base.
That's right.
That's hit through the vacated side of the infield for a base hit. Bruce got sawed off, a little inside out swing, and the Mets have 3 straight hits to start the night.
Well, as you said, Chacin has some ugly reminders of pitching here from last season. And everything working in the Mets' favor so far. Big 10-pitch at bat by Conforto, a rip by Reyes, and now I'll take this one when you're in a slump by Bruce.
He has every reason to smile about that one. I mean, they give him 70 feet from the line. It's an easy target. Not that he was intending to go that way, but it worked. So now Neil Walker tries to keep it going. Neil has cooled down just a tad the last few days. 2 for his last 15 after a terrific hot streak to start the month. Still nobody out. And the curveball is down for ball 1. Walker hitting .421 with runners in scoring position, 3rd in the National League. 24 RBIs for the year.
Defensively behind Chacin for the Padres. Margot probably the best athlete there. The Coors Light defense. Spangenberg, an infielder who's playing the outfield. Renfroe, a great arm. Gold Glove for Ibar in 2011. Schimpf is a second baseman playing third. Solarte's a third baseman playing second. Myers at first base. And Austin Hedges has a chance to be an excellent defender behind the plate.
And an arm behind the plate for Hedges. 1-1 to Walker. Chacin misses away, 2-1. So Chacin not having a chance to settle in. We mentioned that start here last May. He gave up 4 home runs, 2 to Duda, 1 to Rene Rivera, 1 to Asdrubal Cabrera. One of only 4 pitchers ever to allow 4 home runs in a game in this ballpark. And the breaking ball fouled off.
You know, the Padres, when they're at their best pitching, and there hasn't been a lot of that this year, they get ground balls. And Chacin is the kind of pitcher that needs to put the ball on the ground, let his defense work for him. Pitches have been up so far.
Of course, against the Mets, it's hard to generate ground balls. They have the highest percentage of fly balls by far of any team in the major leagues. Two coming. And that's lined the other way, and Walker's got a base hit. Reyes held up. He'll go to third and be stopped there. Jose did not read that ball well at all. That was going to be a base hit right off the bat. But Reyes hesitated, so the Mets will settle for bases loaded and nobody out. 4 straight hits to start the game.
It's just remarkable to me that you would know that Spangenberg, who's an infielder, is playing the outfield. He certainly is not going to be an adept outfielder. He really plays that back. So Reyes does not, like you said, Gary, did not read that so poorly. Cost his second baseman an RBI.
Got another hit with a runner in scoring position for Walker. And now with a run already home, the Mets have the bases loaded for Granderson, who homered on Sunday. 6 for his last 17 with a couple of home runs over that span. An encouraging few days for Curtis, who's been trying to fight out of a season-long slump. And a big production opportunity here. And the fastball is away, as it has been consistently for Chacin.
Remember the Giants were in and Nunez was playing left field. It's the same as Spangenberg. You know that an infielder is playing the outfield. You can take advantage of those players.
13th career start in left field for Spangenberg. And Curtis hits one out to center. That should get a run home as Reyes tags at third. Margot makes the grab. Bruce is going to try for third. The throw goes to second. So a doubly productive out. Granderson with a sacrifice fly gets Bruce over to third, and the Mets have a 2-0 lead. So Reyes gets home eventually. Now with runners at the corners and 1 out, here's Wilmer Flores. Wilmer continues to hit, 2 more hits on Sunday, so gets another start against the right-hander. Wilmer's played 16 games since coming off the disabled list. He's hitting .378 over that span, and what's been notable about that is the way he has picked it up against right-handed pitching. You always know he's going to hit lefties. First and third and 1 out. And Wilmer takes a strike on the corner. Well, the Mets have turned it around this year with runners in scoring position. The worst in baseball last year, second best in the National League so far this year, behind the road warrior Rockies. Can you believe how well Colorado's played away from Coors Field this year? 16-7 on the road. And a jam shot foul.
That's why the Mets have scored 109 runs in May, is because without the home runs they had in April, they've been able to still push runs across.
Also, remember last year the Mets scored about half their runs on home runs. This year it's 39.5%, which is 20th in the major leagues. So they're getting runs in other fashion besides the home run ball.
It was the Mets in Baltimore all season long vying for that 50% of the run total.
Chassin could use a strikeout ahead on Flores 0-2 with Duda on deck. And Wilmer hits another one off the thumbs, and that'll roll through the hole for a base hit. Bruce is in to score. Walker goes to third. Wilmer Flores with the softest single you ever see. And the Mets have a 3-0 lead. He hit a foul ball off his fists earlier in the at-bat, and now another jam shot that just rolls through the open side of the infield.
Well, the ball's supposed to be away. It jams him, and like you said, you couldn't hit a fungo any softer than this to right field, but Wilmer will take it. How about 2 of the hits against this shift so far by the Mets in this inning?
And neither one exactly by design, but they'll take it.
Too bad. You want to play the shift, you got to take your medicine.
And here's Darren Balsley, the longtime San Diego pitching coach, out to talk to Chassin.
Right before that pitch was thrown, Yannervis Solarte moved closer behind the bag at second base, completely open. Now, I don't think it's really the Padres' fault there. That was a complete accident that Wilmer hit that ball to right field. But this is right before the pitch is delivered. Watch him. Goes on the other side of the umpire. He goes right. The ball goes left. To his left.
And so Flores continues to pile up the hits. Mets have 5 hits in the inning, 3 runs home, and now Duda still only 1 out. Remember, Duda hit 2 home runs against Chassin here last year when Chassin was a Brave. And that fastball finds the inside corner, one of the few that has worked for Chassin on that side of the plate. Chassin already 30 pitches deep in this inning. Duda trying to break out, just 4 for 26 in 9 games since coming off the disabled list. And he lines one into left center field for a base hit. That's going to go up the gap and all the way to the wall. Walker is in. Flores digging for third. He's being waved around. There'll be no relay throw. It's a 2-run double for Lucas Duda, and the Mets have put up a 5 spot in the opening inning.
Well, maybe the Mets didn't like the 5 spot that was put up against them in the first inning on Sunday afternoon. So a little of their own medicine. Watch the back runner Flores on this bullet of a double. 1 out. He knew it hit the gap right away. And it seemingly seems that every play at the plate is close when Wilmer's running. Not this one.
He's not fast, but he did read that very well and was able to score easily. So 5 runs are home. And now Rene Rivera, the former Padre, takes a big cut. Rivera homered against Chassin last year. More recently, Rene has become a hitter. He just had an 11-game hitting streak stopped on Saturday night. And with Travis d'Arnaud due back any day, Terry Collins has made it pretty clear that Travis will not necessarily step into the unquestioned #1 role, given the way that Rivera has hit. You know his defense is top-notch. Nothing into to Rene.
Well, you always assumed that Rene would get the start when Syndergaard pitched. Syndergaard hurt, not in the rotation, but Rivera will continue to play.
Might be a 50-50 split. Might depend on who's hot at a given time. But Rene has certainly surprised with his offense. He lets this one foul. Rene had his best offensive season with the Padres. That was in 2014. He had 252 with 11 home runs that year.
Well, you can't have a better confluence of events. 5 runs in the first for your pitcher in his first start, and against a team that's 16-30.
And Chacín just has not been able to put the hitters away. He's been ahead in the count repeatedly in this inning. But the Mets have been able to either foul it off or get some unlikely hits. The Bruce and Flores hits certainly were not according to plan, but both came with 2 strikes on the hitter. Now it's 0-2 to Rivera with Harvey on deck. And Rene pokes one into right field, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Duda goes to third. And that's really emblematic of what Rene Rivera has done this year that we didn't see last year.
Well, what he used to do last year is he really, from pitch 1, was looking to center or right field to get his hits. But now he's looking to add some pop early in the count, and with 2 strikes, just try to put the ball in play. This kind of paddled into right field. Not a particularly good swing, but effective.
8 hitters have come to bat. The Mets have 7 hits, 5 runs home, and the Padre bullpen starts cranking. The former Washington National Craig Stammen is up as Matt Harvey bats with first and third and 1 out and 5 runs already home. Harvey looking for his first hit of the year. He's 0 for 17. And he squares and lays off, and the first baseman Myers came charging about as hard as a first baseman can charge.
Watch the contact here by Rivera. This ball is probably 3 or 4 inches off the plate by the time it gets off the end of the bat. Maybe not, but his back foot kind of flies out. He's got all of his weight on the front foot and just dunked it into right.
There goes Rivera. Harvey puts it in play. Holding at third is Duda, as Schimpf throws out Harvey for the second out, and that has the effect of a sacrifice. Rivera winds up at second base.
Well, I like that move with Myers charging that hard. You had to swing the bat. Matt doesn't know whether to smile. Oh, he's got a good smile there.
Now, if you're the Padres, do you walk Conforto here?
Yes.
Second and third, 2 out. He already homered his first time up.
Absolutely.
Does not look as though Andy Green shares that sentiment, though.
Must not be getting the New York Times in San Diego.
Conforto hit his 4th career leadoff home run, his 12th home run of the season, and now has a chance to hit 2 in 1 inning. And the curveball misses badly for ball 1. So here is Jhoulys Chacín about to throw his 40th pitch of this first inning. And his tenure in this game very much in jeopardy as it seems to go for him on the road. That's lined the other way, and Conforto's got a base hit. In is Duda. Here comes Rivera. The throw is cut off, and 2-run score. The throw from Spangenberg was cut off by Schimpf. That might have had a chance to get Rivera at the plate, but the Mets now have 7 runs home in the opening inning. They pitch to Conforto with first base open, and they pay for it. 3 RBIs in the first inning for Michael Conforto.
Well, bad decision by the manager here to pitch to Conforto. 100-point difference between him and Reyes as hitters, and Conforto, of course, is the best hitter in the Mets lineup. Okay, an infielder is throwing the ball in from left field, but remember, it's Rivera running. I think that ball might have had enough on it. It would have 2-hopped up there, but you still got to take a chance.
Or at least cut and throw home.
There you go.
Which you might have had a chance to do too. So Chacín is unable to get out of the first inning.
Okay, let's see if there's enough on it. Okay, maybe not. And I think you're right, Gary. Cut it and throw home right there.
Oh, he had an excellent chance, but he turned the wrong way for it.
You got to turn to the outside. That way you can pick up the runner. I mean, there's not enough noise that could cancel what the catcher is yelling at you.
So Chacín exits. Craig Stammen coming in long relief. Mets with a 7-run first. The call to the bullpen is brought to you by Verizon. What a fast start at Citi Field. Craig Stammen on in long relief. Jose Reyes up for the second time, takes a strike.
Well, Stammen's one of the pitchers when he was with the Nationals that I always enjoyed watching pitch. He was one of those guys that could come out of the bullpen and throw 3 or 4 innings for you, could get a tough out late in the game. Wore many hats for that Nationals ball club.
Missed most of the last 2 seasons following elbow surgery. And now making his 16th appearance for San Diego after signing as a free agent. He had spent his entire career with the Nationals before this year.
3 consecutive seasons, 59, 55, 49 games, innings in the 80s, which is a lot of innings pitched by a reliever today.
Reyes nubs one down to third. Tough play for Schimpf as he charges. The low throw, and Myers digs it out to retire the side. We'll wait to see if the Mets challenge the call at first base. But if it stands, that's the 3rd out.
Well, not a lot has gone right for the Padres so far.
And Terry says we're not going to challenge, so the Mets settle for 7 runs in the opening inning. As 11 Mets came to bat, 7 runs and 8 hits. Plenty to celebrate in that opening inning. Michael Conforto with a home run and a 2-run single. And the Mets stake Matt Harvey to a 7-0 lead after 1. The Mets with their biggest first inning in 13 years as they put up a 7 spot and knocked Jhoulys Chacin out. Matt Harvey staked to the big lead. Ryan Schimpf leads off in the second and takes ball 1. Ryan Schimpf hitting just 165, but a lot of power. He hit his 30th home run as a Padre the other day and his 130th game as a Padre. Think about that. There are only 2 other Padres who've hit 30 home runs that quickly. Gary Sheffield, and Phil Plantier, who had a couple of really good years with San Diego. Mets put 3 infielders on the right side against Schimpf, a little guy with a lot of power. And Harvey, as he did in the first inning, falls behind his first batter 3-0.
If you're Harvey right now, you just got to forget about the score. Came into this game with a game plan of executing your pitches. Go straight back at it.
And he walks Schimpf on 4 pitches to start the second inning, and the Padres have their first base runner. Now, Harvey sat on the dugout for a long time after that 1-2-3 first.
He did, but you know, as a pitcher, what's the alternative? You put a 0 up there, you're very happy your team gave you 7 runs. The best way, honestly, I always found, and one, he had an at-bat, so that gets you a little warm, is just to stay on your feet. You know, don't sit down for too long when you have those real long innings. Walk to the clubhouse. Simple as that.
Here's Hunter Renfroe, former first-round pick out of Mississippi State. Big, strong right-hand batter. So Harvey Smith with 5 straight to start the inning. And 6.
You know, watch the walk on the last pitch. Watch when Matt follows through. See how he kind of holds it there at the bottom? You want to be really in tune with your mechanics, but you don't want to be beholden to your mechanics. When you go out there, you do your mechanics on the side, but once you get out there, you just kind of compete and let it go. To hold it like that, to me, is counterintuitive.
So what you're saying is you don't want to be mechanical with your mechanics.
Exactly. I mean, I know it doesn't make a lot of sense out there, but you want to work on that. But when you get out here, it's just a kind of a blood and guts situation. Just let it go, and wherever your body takes you.
2-1 to Renfroe, and he smacks one to deep center field. Back goes Granderson. It's over his head and off the wall. Schimpf racing for third. He'll stop there. Hunter Renfroe with a 408-foot double. The Padres' first hit, and the Padres begin the long uphill climb. Second and third and nobody out.
Listen, this is a young team. They're a team that has taken a lot of beatdowns already this year, and they're here to do one thing: elevate and hit the ball out of the ballpark, and they've got the ability to do that. So this is not going to be any kind of cakewalk where you can just throw your glove out there. Each at bat with young hitters, your ability to pitch out of the strike zone sometimes becomes more important. That one, of course, too fat of a pitch.
Renfroe, a legit guy. 30 home runs at AAA, 4 more in the majors last year, and 8 already this year. You talk about the Padres and their approach. They're last in the league in batting average, last in the league in on-base percentage, last in runs scored, but they're 7th in home runs. So they do tend to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Here's Corey Spangenberg, another former first-round draft pick. And that's grounded down to first. A run will score as Duda makes the play at first. Schimpf comes home, and it's now 7-1 New York. So Spangenberg drives in a run and moves Renfroe over to third. Now 1 away.
There's all those numbers you were talking about, Gary. You know, it's interesting for Andy Green's squad. You said the anchor is Will Myers, but they're hoping that Hunter Renfroe becomes a double anchor in that lineup. Hedges gets better, and then they've got, of course, replenished that farm system with the trades of Kimbrel and Shields and others.
Here's Hedges. 24-year-old catcher takes a strike. Hedges spent most of last year either on the disabled list or in the minors, but how about this? 82 games in AAA last year. He drove in 82 runs.
It's like high school or college numbers.
Grounded to third. Flores will allow the run to score and get the out at first. So 2 productive outs for the Padres to get a couple of runs in. Renfroe comes in, and now it's 7-2. So just like that, the Padres get a couple back against Harvey after a walk and a double. And that speaks to the strikeout rate we were talking about earlier. You know, normally, even with a lopsided score, in past years when Harvey got second and third, he'd be reaching back to try and put up a K.
What happens when you are a pitcher at the top of your game, when you're one of the elite guys at the top of your game, and Harvey's not there right now, he is searching to get there. Every good pitcher that I've ever met just gets so angry about giving up a run, and you can see strikeouts per 9, as you mentioned before, Gary. That's an alarming rate, meaning that sometimes you can't pitch out of those jams.
Eric Ibar fouls one off. I mean, you look at those strikeout numbers over the years, and you remember that he had Tommy John surgery that cost him a full year in 14. He had thoracic outlet surgery, which cost him half of last year. And you wonder what the cumulative effect of all of that is at age 28. 1-2 coming to Ibar. And he lines one to center, but Granderson playing shallow in just the right spot. And that retires the side. But the Padres cash a pair to get a little closer. 7-2 New York in the middle of the second. Back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Mets sent 11 men to the plate in the first inning, scored 7 times. Jay Bruce leads off the home second against Craig Stammen, who came on for Jhoulys Chacin after Chacin faced 10 batters and gave up 8 hits. Not a good ratio.
No. That never works.
And one of the outs was a sacrifice fly, so that means the Mets were 8 for 9 against him. It's an .889 batting average. Bruce swings over the breaking ball by Stammen, and it's 0-2. Well, as Ronnie said, Craig Stammen is capable of going very long in long relief. At least he was before the elbow problems. I don't know whether he still has that kind of long ability.
Yeah, he's a bulldog gamer. He'll go out there and give it his all. He has interesting in today's game where everyone's spikes getting lighter and lighter. He looks like he's got the old-time NFL spikes on.
Combined with the high navy blue socks.
Right.
Gives him an old-fashioned look.
A Y.A. Tittle look or something.
This is inside with a slider. It's 2-2. So the last time the Mets, those are the shoes.
Oh, I missed the whoosh. I could only see it. The swoosh. I can only see it from the back.
Neil Walker on deck, then Curtis Granderson, and the curveball strikes out Bruce, and that's the first out. So the last time the Mets scored 7 in the first inning was September 16th, 2004. And the starting pitcher for the Braves that day is a guy I have no memory of.
Yeah.
And named Jose Capellan. He lasted just that 1 inning and gave up 7 runs. The Mets starting pitcher that day was Steve Traxel. And he gave a good chunk of it back. And the Mets won 9-4.
You know what they say, it's not always how you pitch, it's what day you pitch. That was a good day for Trax.
In that 7-run first inning back in 2004, that's got home runs from Richard Hidalgo and Todd Zeile. If you're listening, Todd,
yeah, nice.
Happy memory. They went back to back. 1-1 to Walker, who had an opposite field hit his first time, and he grounds this one out to shortstop. Ibar runs around the backhand and throws him out. 2 away. Well, we're very pleased tonight to be able to welcome in a renowned actor and huge Mets fan. Matthew Broderick will be joining us in the next inning.
He's great, and I know that there's a lot of celebrities, actors that are semi Mets fans or whatever. He is a diehard, so it's going to be interesting to have him in the booth, and he's done so much in his career.
Born and bred New Yorker,
yep.
Tony Award winner, of course, great movie career. I wonder how many times a day he gets asked about Ferris Bueller.
That's right. Well, I mean, that doesn't get any funnier than that movie, right?
Curtis Granderson, a sacrifice fly his first time up. I was thinking that, the scene where they go to Wrigley Field, these days it'd be hard to get those seats.
That's right. Well, he did in that movie what every kid in high school wanted to do for a day, huh?
Or every day.
Every day.
And Stammen gets the curveball over, and it's 1-2. Craig Stammen, now 33 years old, born in North Star, Ohio.
Wow.
They could have just called it Polaris.
That's right. Now, I was thinking of I guess I'll ask him when he's here, but is he arriving by truck? I was thinking that the first time I remember, because it was a very difficult role to play, and he played it so amazingly, was Biloxi Blues. Do you remember that movie?
I mean, one of the Neil Simon.
Neil Simon, yeah.
Myers handles the ground ball.
It was hot. It was Africa hot.
Stammen gets the Mets 1-2-3 in the home second. Matt Harvey back to the mound with a 7-2 lead. Should be all quiet on the New York Stock Exchange at this hour.
Computers, it's quiet all the time, Gary. Not like it used to be.
Craig Stammen, not a bad hitter for a relief pitcher. Doesn't get that many at bats, but has taken advantage of them. And he will truly be asked to serve in long relief tonight, taking it at bat in the third inning. Manuel Margot, the leadoff hitter, on deck, and then Yangervis Solarte. Harvey, who fell behind the leadoff hitter in the first inning and then walked the leadoff hitter in the second inning, is now behind the pitcher leading off in the third inning.
You know, we pointed out about holding that follow through. It just doesn't seem like Matt's throwing nice and free and easy. You know, that's what you look for from a pitcher, is how hard can he throw in an easy way.
Three-two. And Stammen fouls it away. Well, he's talked so much in recent weeks about working on his mechanics, about finding his arm slot, about all the work that he and Dan Warthen have done together. So when you're in that kind of mode, how do you translate that into bringing that into the game as he walks the leadoff hitter for the second straight inning? You
know, Gary, my recommendation really would be is to stop talking about mechanics. I know that pitchers today, well, pitchers probably forever, have always wanted to express to the media things they're working on, mechanical issues they're ironing out. I think it becomes counterintuitive because it gets in your head at some point that you're all about mechanics, and because you're saying to yourself, if my mechanics aren't right, I'm going to have a hard time. That's not a place to be.
Do you think sometimes it's easier, though, for pitchers to talk about mechanics rather than just say, hey, I had a lousy game? In other words, to try and pinpoint something to fix the the situation too.
That's a really good way to put it. Like Fonzie saying he couldn't say he was wrong. I understand that, you know, where you don't want to just come out and say hey, listen, there are a lot of things that are out of whack today, but the bottom line is I got to get my job done, and I didn't get it done, you know. But I think, yes, you're right. I think in a day and age where it's all about mechanically getting into a place where I can fire it, where it comes out of my hand great. If it's not feeling great coming out of your hand, it's kind of defeatist in a way, and you can't feel that way. If it's not coming out of my hand right, who cares? They don't care. They're ready to hit. I got to do something that stops them from hitting.
Double play ball if they hurry. Reyes to Walker, and against the speed of Margot, they can't quite turn two. So they settle for the 6-4 force play. That ball came up just enough on Reyes to slow him down.
I think, in fact, Reyes left his feet at some point. It came up against his chest. Let's see. Yeah, see, both feet are up in the air. So he can't really throw that ball until he comes back down. And once he came back down, then he let it go. Good throw, but Margot, too much speed. He's quite an athlete.
So he's aboard with one out, and now Yangervis Solarte. Margot has 5 steals, but he's been caught 5 times. Really hasn't quite figured out the mechanics of stealing, but he certainly has the speed to eventually be a good base stealer.
And Margot came from the Red Sox farm system, so did the Red Sox get to draft all the good outfielders like for the last 5 years, or what? I mean, think of the talent that they have in that outfield with Jackie Bradley Jr., who struggled this year with Mookie Betts and Benintendi, Margot.
Margot was part of the Craig Kimbrell deal. Now time for the unlimited baseball break, brought to you by T-Mobile. Streaking and struggling, your Texas Rangers streaking.
Well, I'm going to Texas to be able to watch that streaking team on the 6th and 7th of June. The Mets are going there, and the Marlins. It's been a strange year for them, but I shouldn't say that. It's not pitching well enough. Starting pitching.
Poorly enough to cost Tom Kohler his job in the major leagues for the time being. It was a tough call, though, picking the Marlins over the Phillies. The Marlins have lost 20 of 25. The Phillies have lost 18 of 22.
Yeah.
And it creates an enormous amount of opportunity in the Mets division. An opportunity they really weren't able to take fully advantage of in those 30 games to start the season against the National League East. And even the Nationals are not playing at as high a level as they had hoped.
Their bullpen has betrayed them. Their starters aren't getting deep into games, and although they have a 6.5 game lead, it could be a whole lot more. 1-2 to Solarte, and he fouls it back. A fastball from Harvey. Will Myers waiting on deck. And the curveball inside, 2-2.
You know, the most telltale sign for me about expectations for Matt Harvey were by his manager today. When asked what would be a good start for Harvey, you know, 6 innings, some good location with his pitches. Do you think that ever would have been said like that 3, 4, 5 years ago? Utter domination would have been the expectation.
Yeah, in fact, Terry was asked point blank. He said, is Matt at a point where you can expect the improvements that he's trying to make to pay off in results? And, you know, it was hard to say unequivocally yes.
Yeah. He's being very careful, and I understand that.
3-2 to Solarte with Margot at first and 1 out. He's running. It's inside, ball 4, and the Padres have 2 men on. There's the 3rd walk Harvey's given up, including 2 in this inning. So now Will Myers has a chance to get the Padres a lot closer in a big hurry. Myers flied out to left his first time up. So after being staked to a 7-0 lead, Harvey anything but cruising right now.
You know, Gary, most of the time when you're watching a pitcher, you want to see, you know, where is he a little off mechanically? Is he not pushing off? Is his arm lagging? Is he not staying close with that front shoulder? For Harvey, it's something different almost every single time, especially at the very end when he releases the ball. Sometimes he kind of moves towards first base. Sometimes he holds the position. Sometimes he's leaning almost backwards. So the end is a little problematic right now.
And that last fastball, 91. So it looks like at this point he's just trying to coax the ball across the plate rather than letting it go. And now it's 2-0 to Myers. And Rene Rivera and Dan Warthen are both going to go out and see if they can be of any assistance. You know, part of the conversation about Matt and the struggles that he's enduring have to do with where he was last year. Right?
Yeah.
He had the thoracic outlet, and at some point, and we don't know for how long, didn't have full feeling in his fingers, and he had a little impediment in terms of releasing the ball.
Yeah.
And you develop bad habits when those things happen. How much do you think that plays when you come back from an injury like that and a surgery like that in terms of regaining what you had been before?
Well, I think that one of the issues is he ever going to regain what he had before? That weighs on you. Second, I think he's learning how to work with a new arm, new mechanics, a new arm, kind of. That's what he's trying to work with. But what I see here, and this is my opinion, I see a general lack of confidence to throw the ball in the strike zone. I see a guy that has lost his confidence. And I say that from his body language, not from anything else, folks. And this is from someone that stood out there and had some real great moments, had some really, really bad moments. And when the bad moments hit, you get to a point where it's hard to let it go. It's almost like you're aiming the ball.
Now he's behind on a good hitter, Will Myers, 3-1. And Myers gets jammed and fouls it back. Sure if that's the pitch that Myers wanted to be swinging out on 3-1. Harvey has walked 3, struck out 1 over the first 2 1/3. Margot at second, Solarte at first with 1 out. Not running, and Myers fouls back the high fastball.
There's a big difference, Gary, between the knowledge that you are going to make it happen and the hoping that it does happen. Huge gap, and I've been on both sides of it.
And is it all about what you have, or is it more about what's between the ears?
It's both worrying about what you have or don't have and not having that inner confidence to be a little mean out there. Take charge.
Myers bounces it foul. Mets have the bullpen cranking. Josh Smoker, who was just recalled today, is up behind Harvey. Mets sent Hansel Robles down to the minor leagues after 3 straight dreadful outings and brought Smoker back. And Smoker, who had been working as a starter to try and get him to use more of his secondary pitches, now a little stretched out, and so he is the long man tonight. Eighth pitch of the at bat coming to Myers. And he struck him out on the foul tip. And that's the second out of the inning.
Well, not Myers' best at bat. He got a ball called on him, a strike that wasn't. But after that, he swung at pitches that were out of the strike zone. And Matt gets a big second out. Chance to get out of this inning.
Not out of the woods yet. Another power hitter at the plate in Ryan Schimpf. Schimpf walked and scored in the second inning. See the low batting average, but he does walk and he does hit home runs. Two on and 2 out. Mets with a 7-2 lead in the third. And Schimpf takes the curveball for a strike. Harvey has walked 3 tonight. It's been an epidemic for this staff, especially these last few days. Met pitchers have now issued 20 walks in the last 20 2/3 innings. It's mind-boggling for a club that prided itself on its great control over the last couple of years.
You know, in fact, Gary, if you told me, you see the walks per 9 innings last 3 years, but if you told me, you know, what's the theme of Dan Warthen's years in New York, I would say one thing. His pitchers did not walk hitters. They did not beat themselves. And this year, just trying to find that groove.
And that goes up and down the board from the starters through the relievers. 2-1 now to Schimpf. Hooks one foul. Schimpf had a huge day here last year when the Padres came here in August. He had a game where he had 2 home runs and 6 RBIs in the first 3 innings, facing Logan Verrett. Really introduced himself to the big city. Hit 20 home runs as a rookie last year. One of 111 players in the big leagues who hit 20 or more. And he did it in less than a full season. 2 on, 2 out, 2-2 to Schimpf. And he drives one to right, but right at Bruce to retire the side. A bullet off the bat of Schimpf. But Harvey manages to work around a couple of walks in the 3rd inning. It wasn't easy, but he got it done. When we come back, Matthew Broderick joins us in the booth. run first inning, have a 7-2 lead, and we're so pleased to have wonderful actor Matthew Broderick joining us in the booth, along with his son James. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. We see you all the time here at the ballpark.
Yeah.
Watching as a fan.
Yes.
Your fandom is real, isn't it?
It is real. Yeah, it's been a long time now, so it's real.
What's your earliest memory of being a Mets fan?
I remember going with my sister to a game in the I think the early 70s, and seeing I liked Jerry Grote at the time.
Oh,
I
nice.
would just stare at him the whole time and, with binoculars. That's why I was in love with Jerry Grote.
Was it Jerry? Was it the catching equipment?
Was it number 15 or
all of it?
all of it?
I mean, the combination. And he was so tough. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then Jerry Kuzman, I was left-handed, so I liked him, and Tom Seaver. I don't know. Everybody.
What's your first? I figure we have fun here because you're such a Mets fan, but we're big fans of you.
Thank you.
So okay, so Jerry Grote was your first. What's your first memory of acting?
Of acting myself,
Yeah.
you mean? Well, I played Santa when I was 12 in grammar school, and somebody shaved my beard was the story, and they developed a magic potion to make my beard grow. That was my first role.
And I mean, your father was such a great actor, so he probably was around. You were around it all the time.
I was. I grew up following him around to theaters and being backstage with my father, James Broderick, who he's named after.
Nice.
Yeah.
So other than your dad, who were your thespian heroes growing up?
Oh, I had a lot. Al Pacino. There's a game, right? You better tell the people.
Well, they can see it. It's television.
Okay. I thought it was on radio. I loved, and John Travolta, and then when I was a Marlon Brando. I'm leaving everybody out, I'm sure.
We were thinking before, because there is a baseball content in it. Has there been a day go by in the last however many 30 years that Ferris Bueller's Day Off has not been mentioned to you in some form or fashion?
I don't think so. I think it has been mentioned probably every day. Isn't that amazing?
We were mentioning that it would be tougher to get the Cubs tickets than it was in the day of the movie.
Yeah, although even then I think they were pretty beloved.
That's right.
But not like now. But
so what did that movie mean to your life, for better or for worse?
Well, it was just another. I was doing a bunch of movies at the time, and I didn't know it was going to, for 30 years later we'd be talking about it. I had no idea. None of us did. But it was a thrilling movie to make. It was really fun.
You looked like you were having a good time.
Yeah, well,
that was the whole point.
I mean, it looks more fun. There was a lot of early morning, waiting around part too.
So you've obviously spent a lot of time here at Citi Field, but you grew up going to games at Shea Stadium.
Yes, I did.
So
yeah.
what moment at Shea Stadium stands out to you when you think about?
Well, there's a bunch. I mean, I can remember the way the stands shook. Over on along first, the ones on the ground when the whole thing would shake together.
Because they were temporary. They could move right for the football.
So that was a very exciting, frightening feeling that I miss. I remember who made the catch in left field when we thought we were going to get into the World Series.
Andy Chavez.
Yeah, Andy Chavez. I was here for that one, and I thought the Lord had smiled on us then.
Gary and I were watching from the stands. We thought the Lord had come also.
Duda with an opposite field hit, and Lucas is 2 for 2. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
So what about now? When you watch the game now, is it as much fun as when you were a kid? Is it different for you now that you have kids?
Well, yeah. I mean, having James and I watch together a lot, so that got me kind of back into it. Baseball's the kind of thing I get into for a few years, and then I take a little break, Yeah,
Ronnie was like that too.
Yeah, exactly.
I just meant watching it. And, yeah.
I was the same way. After I retired, I was so bad that I didn't want to watch baseball anymore. So 5 years, I never watched a game.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I go in waves myself, but it's been an exciting bunch of years.
So did you indoctrinate James in being a Mets fan, or did he come by it naturally?
James, did I make you be a Mets fan, or did you? You have to speak into my. No, he liked him by himself, right?
When they were there, Skies on the left.
Okay.
And Spangenberg, that's the second out.
Yeah, in the summer we go to Long Island, and I'm friends with Jerry Seinfeld, who comes to a lot of games, so I use his seats a lot, frankly, which is good.
See, now at least
he's a great fan.
It got given away to the right person this time.
He's probably been up here, I'm sure.
He's joined us a couple of times.
Yes.
Are other kids not into baseball? Or?
Well, they're 8. We have 8-year-old girls, so they've been asking now. So I should bring them, but I haven't yet. But I will.
You know, you've done so many amazing movies, but I'm such a big fan of yours on Broadway.
Oh, thanks.
And the producers, of course, we're ready. I mean, we love you here, James. We would have taken Nathan, too, if we had a chance. But what's the best show you've done on the boards?
Whoa, you know, I don't like to pick a favorite, but the producers was very exciting time with my pal Nathan Lane, and it seemed like the whole city embraced it, and so that was very exciting, you know.
And of course, you've won a couple of Tonys along the way too.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but now that you've brought it up, yes, I have. Yes, it's been a little while. I need another one. So, okay.
Harvey flies out to end the end. This has been so much fun, Matthew. Thank you.
For me too. What a thrill.
It's great to meet you.
I love listening to you guys and watching you guys.
Good luck to you.
I really do.
Thank you.
You guys are great.
The wonderful Matthew Broderick and James Broderick joining us in the booth. Mets up 7-2 after 3. High-speed pitch. And you see Matt Harvey's topped out at 96. Craig Stammen 93.
Poor Shashin, he didn't even make the board.
Didn't stick around long enough with the Spectrum high-speed pitch. Snooze, you lose. Hunter Renfroe leads off in the 4th inning. 7-2 New York. Renfroe hit a double off the center field fence and scored in the 2nd. It's been the only hit against Harvey so far, but Matt has walked 3 and so has had to work awfully hard the last 2 innings.
Renfroe reminds me a little bit of, remember the Padre Carlos Quentin from Stanford? He's got kind of that same approach. Stocky, strong, a lot of bat movement.
Well, there's takes straight 3 called, and that's the first out. 3rd strikeout for Harvey.
When you watch Stammen and Harvey, watch Harvey on the left. When he makes his turn, you can see just barely the numbers. Stammen just the opposite. That leg almost goes all the way to second base. You can see the full 34. So a big turn by Stammen, not so much by Harvey. Harvey really points that knee, front knee, to third base. Stammen to second base.
Spangenberg thinking about trying to bunt, and did that hit the umpire's foot?
I don't think it hit anything, but there was a sound.
Well, it bounced down in front of the plate.
Maybe. Let's take a look.
Well, Bruce Streckman got caught by that.
Ball's way inside. Oh, it did. Right up the bottom of the foot because he had the toe up.
That's why he's number 1. Spangenberg continuing to show bunt. You were talking about Hunter Renfroe reminding you of Carlos Quentin.
Yeah.
I look at an aggressive, power-hitting right fielder who's got a great throwing arm. I think of Jeff Francoeur.
Oh, that's right.
And I wonder if he'll be able to refine himself to be able to, you know, overcome what became the Achilles heel of Francoeur's career, that he was so overly aggressive that pitchers took advantage of. Spangenberg pops one up. Duda waiting for it. And that's the second out. City probables for the remainder of the series. Robert Gazelman goes for the Mets tomorrow night, coming out of the bullpen against Jared Kosar. Jacob deGrom Thursday night. And the Padres have announced that rookie right-hander Dinelson Lamet will make his major league debut Thursday night.
Outstanding pronunciation.
I hope. I guess we'll find out. Austin Hedges drove in a run with a ground out his first time. So Harvey, after a 30-pitch 3rd inning, looking for a little cleaner 4th inning. And pops the fastball for a strike. Clearly his velocity is down tonight. First inning he hit 95. He's got thrown 1 at 96, but there's been a lot of 91 to 93 tonight from Matt.
That's the change up there. You haven't seen him really establish any of his secondary pitches. I think his curveball probably has been the one he's thrown more for strikes. Really very few changeups for strikes, very few sliders.
And now behind on Hedges, 3-1.
And it's all about control. You know, it's when Harvey was at his best, he was able to mix in power with precision. And that's all the great pitchers. When I think of, you know, a franchise, Tom Seaver, everyone thinks about his precision. I mean, he did have some of the best repertoire you'd ever have. Pedro Martinez at his best. Power, precision.
Brett Saberhagen.
Saberhagen, boy, in the 80s. I know he was precise when he came here too, but he was a different pitcher.
He's still throwing 95 though.
Yeah.
And Hedges draws a walk. That's 4 walks now for Harvey. And the epidemic of Met pitchers walking hitters continues.
I got Harvey, what's he, 4.5 per 9 innings, just about, walks per 9. I mean, you should be around the 2 mark.
But this really the whole staff.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, DeGrom has walked far many than you would have expected. Wheeler, you understand, it's always kind of been his nature, and he's coming back from 2 years on the sidelines as Miguel Diaz gets up in the bullpen for the Padres, with the pitcher due up next. It's at the worst staff ERA in the National League. That's your Coors Light cold hard facts, and it's not even close.
Huh.
Padres 3rd from the bottom in the National League.
No one had that over, I'll tell you that.
Well, the best hope the Mets have right now is, well, 2 of them. One, that the guys who are here, like Harvey and Wheeler and DeGrom, kick it into gear. but also that they start getting some reinforcements. Seth Lugo and Steven Matz both pitching on rehab tonight. They will both probably require one more start after this. That's pulled through the hole. No, it hits the runner, and that's the third out. Hedges couldn't get out of the way. That ends the inning. Ibar will get credit for a base hit, but an ignominious way for the inning to end. Put out goes to the second baseman, as Hedges could not get out of the way. Have a 7-2 lead over the Padres as we go to the bottom of the fourth, and a guy who had a huge hand in that first inning will lead off. Michael Conforto led off the first inning with a home run and drove in the last two runs of that inning with a base hit to left, and he takes a strike from Craig Stammen. Stammen's worked 2 1/3 in long relief. Third time around the batting order, Conforto, Reyes, and Bruce, after Jhoulys Chacín failed to get out of the first inning. Curveball from Stammen for a strike, 0-2.
Bruce Dreckman, the home plate umpire, is calling just about everything a strike right now, so a little more difficult for the hitters.
33-year-old Craig Stammen, former National, deals the 0-2. And Conforto whacks it to center field. Margot gets back, takes a look, and that ball's out of here. Michael Conforto with his second home run of the night. Number 13 for Conforto. And it's 8-2 New York.
Boy, have a night, young man. That's an 0-2 breaking ball. Now he's hit 2 breaking balls, both for home runs. One off Chacín, and now here off Stammen. That was a bolt. When it left the bat, it was so low, you didn't think it had a chance, or I didn't, to go out to center field. It left with plenty of room.
So Conforto with 2 home runs. He's driven in 4 tonight.
That foot is down, legs in the power position, and that follow through becoming more and more classic.
Second time this year that Conforto's hit 2 home runs in a game. He did it in Washington.
I mean, look where this ball goes. Margot just gave up on it right away. No Gold Glove out there, but hit him right in the chest.
He melted in his hand.
Good to be Conforto right now. There we go.
Into shallow left center. Margot will get this one, and that's the first out. Conforto's two home run games this year are his only 2 in the regular season. Of course, he had one
World Series
game 4. Here's Jay Bruce, who has a single and a strikeout, 1 for 2. So Conforto has now regained the club lead in home runs and RBIs. That's slapped foul. Bruce has already had a hit through the left side of the infield. Almost had himself another.
Jay Bruce channeling Ralph Garr or Miguel Delaney tonight. Have to Google that, folks.
Walker and Granderson to follow. Here's a quirky one for you. Michael Conforto became the first Met in history to have 3 RBIs in the first inning out of the leadoff spot.
Wow.
It's hard to do, right? Because you can only drive in 1 your first time up.
That's right.
Which is what he did, and then he drove in 2 more.
He had a Von Hayes kind of start to his night.
There you go.
That was the best I've ever seen.
4 RBIs tonight, most he's ever had in a big league game. Now it's 31 RBIs, 1 more than Bruce for the club lead. 13 home runs, also bettering Bruce by 2. And the breaking ball gets Bruce for the second out. Take advantage of a special 4 for $30 ticket offered during the May 29th through June 4th games to promote Michael Conforto as a write-in candidate in the 2017 All-Star Game. Through this offer, tickets will be sold on a first-come, first-served basis and are subject to availability. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Conforto. Here's Neil Walker, who's singled and grounded out, 1 for 2. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Damon trying to finish off this bottom of the 4th. He bounces the slider to Walker, 1 and 2. And Stammen had settled this game down until he gave up the Conforto home run leading off this 4th inning. He's worked 3 innings in relief, and that's the only blemish. And Walker cracks one into right center, a base hit. So Neil has his second hit of the night, and the Mets have their 11th.
I mean, complete turnaround, huh, Gary, from April to May for Neil Walker. Seemed like he couldn't find a hole in April, and finding all of them now. Fastball jams him just a bit, a little up the label, but still strong enough.
Now Granderson, who drove in a run with a sacrifice fly in the first inning, then grounded out in the second, 0 for 1. And Curtis takes a fastball strike. Rockies are rolling again. On the road in Philly, Charlie Blackmon has 2 home runs tonight. They're up 8-1 in the 6th.
He's red hot right now, Blackmon and Arenado.
Myers makes the play on the slow grounder. Granderson retired, inning over, but Michael Conforto making his mark on this game. 3 for 3, 4 RBIs, 2 home runs. Here they are. Here's the first one in the first inning to right. And then here in the 4th, just to the left of center. 13 for Conforto and a 6-run lead for the Mets. Fifth inning, Matt Harvey with an 8-2 lead. Chase d'Arnaud leads off for the Padres. Just picked up on waivers from the Red Sox. His first at bat as a Padre, Travis's older brother.
What a season he's had already.
Fifth inning brought to you by your local Ford dealers. The Buy Ford Now sales event is on. For huge savings, go to buyfordnow.com. It's a better slider by Harvey, and it's 1-2. Well, Chase d'Arnaud's had 9 at-bats this year. He's hitting .444. Braves had him in spring training. The Red Sox took him on waivers. The Padres took him on waivers from Boston. Started out his career as a prospect with the Pirates, but it's never quite worked out for Chase, and he's done a lot of moving around the last few years.
Well, he's a tremendous athlete. Can play a lot of different positions. Mostly an outfielder.
Strike 3 call, and so Harvey gets him looking. 4th strikeout from Matt. Well, this date in Mets history, it was 19 years ago today that a seminal moment occurred. The first game in a Mets uniform for number 31, Mike Piazza. He had been acquired from the Marlins the day before, and on a Saturday afternoon against the Brewers, he notched his first Met hit, an opposite field RBI double. And Mike's 7.5-year Mets career was underway.
Must have taken third on the throw because he was there with the third base coach.
That was Cookie Rojas. His son was here over the weekend, Victor.
That's right.
The Angels games.
He and his sidekick, Mark Gubizzo, is one of my dear friends.
You see Mike's numbers, most home runs ever as a catcher, including a couple he hit at Shea in his return as a Padre.
That's right. I remember that game. He's up there where he belongs with all the great numbers.
Manuel Margot is 0 for 2, struck out and into a fielder's choice. You know, maybe it's that we're getting a little older, but when I hear 19 years ago, it feels like a lot longer ago than that.
It does.
It's like a different lifetime.
Well, my only thought was when Matthew sat down, Matthew Broderick, with his son James, is that he's a little younger than us, not much, and he's been able to retain his boyish charm Us, not so much.
Well, he's more your age than mine, and that qualifies as youthful in this booth.
That's true.
By the way,
Yes.
speaking of youth,
Okay.
do you know whose 30th birthday it is today?
I don't know.
John DeMarsico.
Oh, it is. JD. He's had quite a week, hasn't he?
Been a big week for John, who is our associate director. He got engaged, and now he's 30. Maybe there's a connection. I don't know.
Well, congratulations to John and his fiancée. I think that's really cool. That means we've been doing this job a long time.
He was like 12 when we started.
Exactly.
Down the right field line, Bruce over toward the sidewall and tries to pluck it, but comes up empty. About as well as you can time it, trying to go up against that side railing.
See how he looks down. He's really trying to make sure he jumps at about the right time, and you just throw the letter out there and you hope it falls in there. I'd have to say, though, great job by the Mets fans. No one really interfering with that.
Well, the guy with the cap tried,
But it was a young kid. It's not his fault. He didn't know.
it was a little wide of the mark.
Yeah.
Certainly did not interfere with Bruce's opportunity to catch it. Where did I see a fan interference call the other day where the fielder didn't even try to catch the ball?
No, he tried, but he didn't get close.
Right.
And they still called him out.
Here's the 9th pitch of the at bat, and Margot fouls another one off. So this might be as far as Matt goes. I don't know if he's going to be able to go much past this 5th inning, up to 93 now with 1 out in the 5th. It's had bullpen action up in the 3rd inning, but it's quiet now. Again, the 3-2, and Margot fouls off another one. That's only given up 2 hits tonight. Renfroe doubled off the fence in center in the 2nd, and then Ibar hit a ground ball that struck the base runner Hedges in the 4th. And that is scored a hit. This is pitch number 11 coming to Manuel Margot. And he struck him out. Margot loses the helmet and the at bat. 2 away. 5 strikeouts now for Harvey. He struck out the first 2 in the inning.
It's twice that Margot struck out on fastballs right there. I mean, you can't center that ball any more than that. But the big swing doesn't allow him to make contact.
I think he was a big Bartolo Colon fan growing up.
That's right.
I think Bart might have been pitching in the majors before Margot was born. Here's Yangervis Solarte, who's popped up and walked, and he bounces the slider foul.
Well, pitch count sitting at 95, 96 or so. So, yeah, I think this is a kind of 5 and fly for Matt.
Due up 4th in the next half inning. And the Mets are going to get the bullpen cranking again. Josh Edgin will start to throw. Just in case Matt gets a little bit deeper into this 5th inning. And Solarte yanks one foul. There have been some hard hit balls by the Padres tonight. Renfroe's double off the fence, the hit that Ibar had that hit the base runner.
Yeah, it's a, you know, it's a when you're pitching as opposed to throwing, you know, every pitch has a purpose, and you know, you don't see that too much with Matt tonight.
Little flare into shallow center, and that's going to drop in for a base hit. So Solarte with a 2-out soft single. And there's the 3rd hit of the night against Harvey. Not hit hard at all.
Just a jam shot, perfectly placed. Hitters drool to have a half dozen those a year.
And the Mets had a couple of soft hits early in this game, especially the Flores hit, which might be the slowest hit ground ball to get through the infield all year.
Let's get an exit velo on that.
Got to, right?
Come on.
Here's Myers, who's flied out and struck out. That's pulled sharply, just foul.
Well, good call there. It's interesting the umpires
need the third base umpire.
It's interesting that they move on that when you would think that just staying there at a certain point, if it's right of you, you know it's foul. If it's left of you, it's fair. But they move and watch at the same time.
Is part of that trying to get the perspective on where the ball goes over the bag?
No, yeah, no, it's simply this. They do not want to be hit by the ball. That's all it is.
There is that.
Yeah.
Harvey with the high fastball throws it by Will Myers, 1-2. The truck is telling us that the exit velocity on Flores' hit was 56 miles an hour. I'm telling you, that's got to be the slowest hit on any ball to get through the infield all year.
That is classic. Now I love exit velocity.
There you go.
I'm into it now.
It wasn't the 120s that got you. It was the 56.
Oh, I'm all over it now.
Pitch.
Can we go lower than that
Pitchers,
during this year?
Pitchers. 1-2 coming. On the outside corner, Harvey gets Myers looking, and Matt strikes out 3 in the top of the 5th. If that's the end of the night for Harvey, an elegant coda. Halfway through, it's 8-2 New York. And shining in the harbor.
Yep.
On a comfortable night in New York. Now time for your Ford 5th inning recap. Michael Conforto having a huge night. 3 for 3, 2 home runs. His second multiple home run game of the season. A career high 4 RBIs. Matt Harvey, despite 4 walks, only 2 runs and 3 hits over 5 innings. And Rule 5 right-hander Miguel Diaz is on to pitch for San Diego as we start the bottom of the 5th. Wilmer Flores takes ball 1, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Well, Gary, as you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Wilmer Flores all of a sudden is hitting pretty well against right-handers. So what has changed for him? Well, I talked to Kevin Long, and what Kevin Long was saying is that it's not necessarily a change in approach to righties, but overall Flores has just become so much better with his plate discipline. In fact, Long went so far as to say, in the lineup right now, as this ball actually looks like it's coming pretty close to me, but incredible diving grab there by Hedges. What a fantastic play by Hedges right there to rob Flores.
Well, just to have the speed, agility, all that equipment, and still make the slide and catch. That is some kind of play by the young backstopper.
And coming right into Steve Gelbs' neighborhood as he did so.
Guys, that was pretty intense. I'm not going to lie. that was right. Looked like he was diving right at me. But even though Flores just made an out against the righty right there, like I said, he has been getting a lot better. And the one thing that Kevin Long was saying is that overall on this team, he's probably got the best plate discipline top to bottom, which is a far cry from where Flores was a couple of years ago. And the one pitch that he's gotten so much better at is laying off the pitch right at the outside of the zone. And so against righties, where he used to be taken advantage of with that outside slider as Duda flies out, now he's laying that pitch off, allowing pitches to come into his zone and driving those. So that's been the biggest difference with Flores so far this year against righties.
Lucas Duda retired for the first time tonight. And there are 2 out. And now Rene Rivera, who singled to drive in a run in the Mets' 7-run first inning. Flied out in the 3rd.
It's almost like Rivera's good for a knock a game, isn't it?
Well, he had an 11-game hitting streak stop Saturday. He started a new one tonight. Meanwhile, Miguel Diaz pitching for San Diego. This is an incredible thing. As Matt Reynolds is out on deck to bat for Matt Harvey. The Padres are carrying 3 Rule 5 picks on their roster. Diaz, a pitcher. The catcher, Luis Torrens. There's a great stop by Myers. And a utility man, Alan Cordova. Well, 2 outstanding defensive plays helping out Diaz, the Rule 5 pick, to a 1-2-3 inning. Austin Hedges, great athletic ability. And a beautiful diving catch. For all the latest from Jets OTAs with on-site reports from NFL insider Ralph Vacchiano on SNY.TV, your online home for all things New York sports. Josh Smoker just back from the minor leagues. First pitch thrown to Ryan Schimpf. Deep fly ball to right. Granderson goes back near the wall, and it's out of here. Ryan Schimpf with his 11th home run of the season on the first pitch thrown by Smoker, and it's now 8-3 New York.
Did you see how far that ball went?
Well, we saw that last year from Schimpf. He's got incredible power for a small man.
I mean, high fastball with that uppercut. He hits a moonshot that when it first left the bat, I thought maybe an F9.
Almost made it to the bridge.
I mean, a bomb.
So a rude return for Smoker, and now Renfroe fouls one back.
I mean, when you look at that swing, it doesn't look like too much. He's just one of the guys that has that natural power.
Smoker went back to the minors and made a couple of starts for Las Vegas, threw a total of 8 2/3 innings in those 2 starts.
Well, they were trying to make sure that he's a 3-pitch pitcher when he relieves. So when he left, he had trouble controlling his breaking ball, which he just got the strikeout on there. And he was having trouble controlling the changeup. So sent down to work on those pitches. It was very positive, and that's why he's back in the major leagues.
Juan Lagares came into play center field. Curtis Granderson moved from center to right. Already saw him retreating on the home run. And now Smoker pitching. After Matt Harvey went 5, Matt threw 103 pitches, 2 runs, 3 hits, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts. And he left with an 8-2 lead. It's now 8-3. Here's Corey Spangenberg, who has grounded to first and popped to first. He's driven on a run. Smoker returned today. Hansel Robles was sent down to Vegas, which shouldn't have come as a big shock after his last 3 outings.
That's 2 now that Rene Rivera has not gotten a glove on, and this ball hit Bruce Dreckman right in the shoulder.
Well, he got one in the foot earlier.
I mean, no leather, right off the shoulder. I played for a long time. If you saw that happen maybe 3 times in my entire career, I see it happen nightly.
Why do you think that is?
Because the catchers sit so far out, and now they used to sit out in the day, but guys would, if they missed, they missed on the other side. Guys now are missing completely on the other side of the plate. That ball's supposed to be on the outside. It's on the inside corner. And for whatever reason, it's easier for a catcher to catch the ball to his left, harder to reach across his body and catch to the right.
Do you think that some of it might have to do with the fact that catchers are so much more conscious now of framing pitches as opposed to catching pitches?
They're all about framing the pitches that they can and don't have as much incentive to catch those balls that are 3 feet on the other side of the plate.
2-1 to Spangenberg. By the way, Jay Bruce came out when the Mets made those changes, and it was not just a lineup consideration. Apparently Jay had some back tightness, which is why he came out.
Guys, just FYI, the conversation that you saw at the plate right there, the Mets thought that Spangenberg had tipped that baseball, so they wanted it to be a strike.
Getting no satisfaction, not a reviewable play.
Did they ask Bruce Dreckman if he was all right before they asked if it was tipped?
And that wasn't even close. I mean, not even close. It might have tipped Rivera's mitt.
It just smoked Dreckman. That's all it did.
Walker handles the ground ball and throws out Spangenberg 2 away. Tonight's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. A nightmare night for Jhoulys Chacín. Faced 10 batters, gave up 8 hits and 7 runs. Matt Harvey had his moments of struggle, walked 4, but only 2 runs and 3 hits over 5 innings.
Yeah, numbers are good.
And struck out 3 batters in his last inning. Now Austin Hedges, who made that great diving catch a moment ago. And he goes after a changeup from Smoker. That's good to see. That's a pitch we saw a lot in the first few weeks of the season from Smoker. Be an effective pitch for him, but not so much his last couple of weeks.
Well, it's got to be in the bottom of the strike zone. That's where that one was.
And he throws the fastball by him. And that's the thing. Smoker's got an electric arm.
He has a chance to really make something of himself in this game as a left-handed specialist. Throws hard. He's got to be able to control that breaking ball.
And he strikes out Hedges on 3 pitches to end the inning. So after giving up the home run on his first pitch to Ryan Schimpf, Smoker comes back and gets the next 3, 2 via strikeout. 8-3 Mets in the 6th. head coach or manager in the 4 major sports who's older than Terry Collins?
I know the answer to this. In
No.
fact, he's got a winner off.
I know the longer tenured manager. There's only or coach. There's only one of those. Is it the same guy?
I don't know that, but I think he is now done for the winner.
Matt Reynolds pinch hitting for Josh Smoker. Reynolds got the start Sunday at shortstop when Jose Reyes was scratched and hit his first home run of the year. Michael Conforto on deck, sitting on 2 home runs for the night. And Miguel Diaz misses outside. 1-1. Diaz came on through a 7-pitch 1-2-3 fifth, helped out by a couple of fine defensive plays. One in front of him and one behind him. One by Hedges, one by Myers. Two and one to Reynolds. Diaz was taken in the Rule 5 draft off the Milwaukee Brewers roster by Minnesota and then traded to San Diego. And they have to keep him for the whole year or offer him back.
I mean, that really makes it difficult to field a big league club when you have 3 Rule 5 guys.
You know, I just read this today. I did not realize this was the case. The 2003 Detroit Tigers carried 3 Rule 5 guys. You know what happened to their season?
Yeah.
They lost 119 games. 2-2 coming. And he struck him out. The breaking ball by Diaz to fan Reynolds. So he's retired 4 in a row. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Oh, that's good stuff. Nice.
So here's Michael Conforto, who's already had himself a huge night. Hit a leadoff home run in the first, then a 2-run single later in the first, and then on an 0-2 breaking ball, hit one out of the ballpark to center field in the fourth. And the first pitch from Diaz, 97 at his feet for ball 1.
To see Bruce Streckman trying to get his foot out of there.
You can understand that.
I wouldn't trust the catchers either, Bruce.
Twice bitten, third time shy. And Conforto takes a strike. 22-year-old Miguel Diaz, lightly used out of that San Diego bullpen. And a high breaking ball, 2-1. Big cut by Conforto on the changeup. 2-2.
2 good changeups by this 22-year-old. 23rd birthday's not till November.
Two coming. Well inside. Now a full count to Conforto. It's a Cubs World Series ring and a big fat one.
Big league.
Grounded down to first, and Myers makes the play on Conforto for the second out. First time Conforto's been retired tonight. We check in with Steve.
You know, Gary, despite the fact that Austin Hedges rudely interrupted my Flores report with a fantastic diving catch, let's talk about him a little bit, because that type of play is actually somewhat of the norm with Austin Hedges. He is an elite defensive player, and it's a large reason why the Padres hope he will be a cornerstone of the eventual turnaround for this franchise. But as much as you see the athletic skills, what really impresses the Padres is how much preparation he puts in before each and every game. Austin Hedges watches between an hour and 3 hours daily of opposition footage while he tries to come up with a game plan for his pitchers. But Ronnie, to me, the interesting thing that he said when talking about his preparation is that, yeah, he'll look for weaknesses, but most importantly is that he plays to his pitcher's strengths. So even if he sees a weakness from an opposing batter, if it's his pitcher's weakness, he might shy away from it rather than expose his pitcher.
Yeah, that's interesting, Steve, because I think that's how you garner respect with your pitchers.
Reyes hits one to deep right field. Back goes Renfroe to the warning track. Right at the wall to make the catch.
They're not going to trust you unless you let them pitch to their strengths.
Reyes making a bid. Renfroe going back to get it. Diaz has retired 6 in a row and gave his right fielder a hand after that play. Just a little shy. After 6, 8-3 New York. Paul Sewald will pitch the 7th inning for New York.
Strike thrower coming out of the bullpen in this with a 5-run lead.
Eric Ibar up for the 3rd time has hit 2 balls hard, flies that one foul. He lined out to center field to end the 2nd, and then he had a shot that was going to be a base hit anyway, but then became one by rule when it hit the base runner Austin Hedges as it was about to go through the hole in the right. Sewald worked on Sunday, a hitless 9th inning. Pitcher spot due up next, and Carlos Azuaje is on deck to pinch hit. Just called up. Kirby Yates, whose brother one time pitched for the Mets, Tyler Yates,
right,
up in the bullpen. Another Hawaiian native in the big leagues.
It's nice to see.
It's a small but elite club.
I don't know if it's elite. It's small. You're right.
Hey, any club that has you in Sid in it, I'm all in favor.
Oh, thank you. A lot of Hawaiians have played for the Mets, right? Sid and I, Benny Agbayani. Carlos Diaz was from Hawaii.
Tyler Yates.
Tyler Yates. I mean, it's a long way from there to Flushing.
I didn't realize Carlos Diaz was
yeah.
from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Mets traded Bob Baylor to get Carlos Diaz. Bob Baylor was a great utility guy.
How valuable would Bob Baylor be in today's game?
Oh, well, he was the first super utility guy.
Right?
Before Tony Phillips.
Good guy, too. Solid.
Ibar yanks one down to first, a foul ball.
When you're a young player and you're around an older player, you judge him as a nice guy if they treated you kindly. And he was just a kind man.
Paul Sewald, whose stock in this bullpen keeps rising with every successful outing. That's pulled down to first, and Duda handles it. 1 out. Let's check in with the studio. Eamon McEnany has another game break brought to you by the New York State Department of Health. Well, the red-hot Rockies, 16-7 on the road, and they keep getting great starting pitching from rookies.
That's right. It could be 19 out of 23 for the fighting Phils.
Here's Carlos Azuaje to pinch hit. His first big league appearance of this season. The Mets actually saw him last year in a Padre uniform in a brief stint in the big leagues. Padres are carrying a 5-man bench right now. Sewell throws a fastball by him, 1-1.
That could change because of their starting pitcher tonight. You know, might need another arm in the bullpen.
Well, they just sent down a reliever to make room for Azuaje. They made a number of moves the last few days. Chase Darno coming in on waivers. You know, they're tinkering at the edges with a team it's not built to win this year. They're just trying to be a little bit more competitive as they grow their younger players.
Well, what's interesting around baseball is that you've almost been given a strange blueprint by the Houston Astros and Chicago Cubs, is that if you're not all in, why be in at all?
Halfway in is not in at all. That's the second out. Although there's another argument to make, which is that with 10 postseason teams, even if you're not all the way in, you can get in on the edges.
Well, I think that the Padres right now is, well, Loudmouths, of course, is on tomorrow at 5:30.
Of course, John and Sal will get you ready for tomorrow's game, plus debate all the latest news from Jets OTAs. Loudmouths presented by Cheapo Air tomorrow at 5:30 only on SNY.
I just think right now it's been an interesting A.J. Preller regime, hasn't it, at San Diego?
I mean, he came in with a bang.
He did. I remember when I was at those winter meetings.
Margot lines one into left for his first hit of the game. Hit number 5 for San Diego.
And I saw A.J. in the elevator a couple of times, you know, 8, 9 o'clock at night after getting off air, and he was still, you know, rattling the cages and made a lot of moves, signing James Shields, trading for Matt Kemp. It really energized the fan base, except not a lot good happened.
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
I mean, as they say, he won the winter.
Yeah.
But he lost the summer.
Hey, it's supposed to be the other way around.
And they were smart enough when things didn't work out to cut bait quickly and go the other way. Here's Solarte, who has walked and singled tonight, 1 for 2.
The only thing that I thought would slow it down a little bit was their DL scandal or injury scandal that might make teams hesitant to trade with the Padres, but it hasn't.
Dealt an injured pitcher, Colin Ray. Had to rescind the trade with the Marlins. You know, attendance is way down in San Diego, and fans there are going to have to bite the bullet for a while. But you look at the team they're putting on the field right now, and they've got pieces, right? Margot, Renfroe, Hedges. These are all guys you figure will be part of their future.
You know, what's interesting to me is that if you look at how the wave of baseball is going, and the Red Sox are not having a good year, but they were supposed to. The Cubs are not having a good year, but you think would come around at some point. Those are teams both based on not young pitching, but young everyday players. That might be a trend that more teams are looking at.
Line to center field, a base hit for Solarte, his second hit of the night. So back-to-back 2-out hits, and they'll get Myers to the plate with 2 on.
You know, Gary, because of the injury factor to today's pitchers, young pitchers, the everyday player seems a little more dependable.
Well, you know, it seemed as recently as 2 years ago as though there was an abundance of pitching in the game and a dearth of position players, and now since the surge in home runs, which began around midseason in 2015, it looks completely different.
It's a very interesting thing, and I guess that if you're a GM on a ball club, if you're running a ball club, head of operations, what we're hearing is the new trend has already been replaced by something else.
Right. So Jerry Blevins up in the Mets bullpen with the left-hand hitter Schimpf on deck. This will probably be Sewald's last batter. Still got almost 3 weeks till the Belmont.
That's right. What a great upset, huh, in the Preakness?
Well, does that mean nobody shows up for the Belmont because there's no Triple Crown at stake? Sorry, NYRA. Call strike to Myers, who's 0 for 3 tonight with a couple of strikeouts.
Make it a little easier on the trains.
Never go nose to nose for the first mile.
That's right.
You very rarely come out successfully, even with slow fractions. Nothing in 2 to Myers.
You and I both love the ponies. We're going to have to go together one day and see if we can put our 2 squashes together and come up with something good.
Question is, are you willing to do Aqueduct in February?
Oh yeah.
That's the sign of the true horse player.
No problem.
0-2 to Myers, and the slider off the plate from Sewald. 1-2.
You know, I think you're mentioning Sewald's position in the bullpen has moved up. I think it's moved up because of all the walks. He's proven that he is a strike thrower.
1-2 coming, and Myers strikes out to end the inning. Fastball away gets Myers, who strikes out for the 3rd time tonight, and Sewald showing a little emotion. He strands a pair in the top of the 7th. Stretch time, 8-3 New York. Deep pitch cast, and if Jolice Chastain is watching in the clubhouse, Jolice, close your eyes.
Well, in honor of Matthew Broderick, this was Jolice Chastain's day off today. He got nickeled and dimed. He got hit out of the ballpark. 8 hits, 7 runs. The only thing that was missing was a holiday float and the Beatles Twist and Shout.
Very well done. Juan Lagares will lead off for the Mets as we go to the bottom of the 7th against Kirby Yates, the former Yankee.
Yeah, we were mentioning before his brother Tyler pitched for many ball clubs, including the Mets from Hawaii. His numbers so far: good strikeouts to inning ratio.
Do you pronounce it Lihue?
You know, you're asking the wrong person, because you know we can't even pronounce the R's where I grew up, but I think it is Lihue.
Now,
Lihue? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Ihue. I defer to you.
Well, that puts me in a bad place with the relatives back home.
Now, there are what, 16 letters?
There you go. Yeah.
In the Hawaiian alphabet.
That's why a lot of names seem very similar to you.
So, why are there only 16 letters? What happened to the other 10?
Well, I'm sure Gary, what has happened.
Lagares hits one into left center for a base hit. And so Lagares in his first at bat of the night is aboard.
It's happened around the world for the history of the world, and that is pure and out colonialism, taking advantage of people on an island, taking away their language, and only leaving them with 16 letters. Not even nice enough to give them 26 letters. You can only have 16 because you're not as educated as we are.
Well, I mean,
advanced.
to be honest, Q and X and Z,
No.
you don't really need those
That's
letters.
right.
You can operate around them. Walker shoots one foul.
I do have that feeling every time I read a book to my son. Is that, well, why is X here? There's no reason. It's always xylophone. It doesn't matter. There's no other word. Sometimes X-ray, and that's not even really kind of a word. It is. You know?
Xerox.
Zero. That's right. If you want to go all business on them,
Jimmy Fox.
that's a double X. That works.
And, of course, one of our favorite bands. If there was no X, there'd be no X.
That's right. The L.A. punk band, right?
And now there's XX.
Wasn't there a pitcher, Cervenka? Who,
Yes.
yeah. Was
Hunter Cervenka. Not related to Exene.
he'd like to be. If he knew, only knew.
If he'd ever heard her sing.
Yeah.
Walker's 2 for 3 today, and he fouls one back. Check out the Mets box score presented by Verizon. Huge night for Michael Conforto. 2 home runs, 4 driven in. Lucas Duda, a 2-run double in the first. Mets scored 7 runs in the first inning. Most they've scored in the first inning in 13 years. And they've ridden that to an 8-3 lead in the 7th. One and 2 to Walker with Curtis Granderson on deck. Kirby Yates, the 4th pitcher of the night for San Diego. Craig Stammen worked 3 1/3 in relief, allowed a run on 3 hits. Miguel Diaz threw 2 perfect innings in relief. And Walker goes down on the high fastball for the first out of the inning. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. We asked who's the only older head coach or manager in the 4 major sports that Terry Collins.
I thought it was Pop.
Popovich is the only longer tenured one and also the older one. 21 years Popovich has been with the Spurs.
Boy, I mean, who's had quietly more success than that man?
I will say this though.
Yeah.
If you put Terry in those, halftime interviews, he'd give you more than 1-word answers.
But I mean, his interviews at halftime with the poor people who have to interview him are so bad that you have to watch them because you can't wait to see who he's going to big league next.
See, what I haven't been able to figure out though, is it real or is it like a thing?
Oh, it's tongue-in-cheek, a thing. It's his shtick.
Renfroe is under Granderson's fly ball, and that's the second out.
No, I could be wrong, but I bet you the people that do that job probably say to their friends all the time, I'm telling you, Greg Popovich is great to me. He gives me a lot of stuff, but that's his thing. He is not going to reveal anything. He probably considers it a silly exercise in television, so he treats it like that.
It's hard to argue against that.
That's right.
Sometimes interviews are conducted because they can. We've been guilty of that at times.
Oh,
too.
yes, all the time.
Tonight was not one of those times.
I think this whole show we've done it just. I mean, Broderick is the theme for our night tonight. We started this like the producers. We thought this was going to be a complete flop, and somehow we're still here.
It is springtime. Flores is 1 for 3, had a base hit and drove in a run in the first inning. Lagares at first with 2 out. And Wilmer hits one toward the middle, and that's a base hit. Just under the glove of Solarte, and Wilmer's got another 2-hit game.
You know, Steve was talking about Wilmer trying to center that ball off righties. And I thought Keith over the weekend made a nice point that Wilmer against the lefties is almost entirely pull, but against the righties he's becoming more up the middle the other way. And contact on that pitch away is right up the middle.
Better than 56 miles per hour.
That's right. Maybe he heard me.
So now 2 out and 2 on. Duda had a 2-run double to left center back in the first inning, then single to left in the third. So Lucas trying to fight his way out of a slump. Couple of opposite field hits tonight. Bats here with 2 out and 2 on. And he fouls back the first pitch fastball. The Mets are 5 for 6 with runners in scoring position tonight, as they continue to up their very impressive mark in those situations. Mets are now up to 322 as a team with runners in scoring position. Nearly 100 points higher than they hit last year. Lagares at second, Flores at first with 2 out. And Lucas takes changeup for a strike. 0-2. Kirby Yates with his 4th major league team. Started out with Tampa Bay. Split last year between the Yankees and the Angels. By the way, he looks just like his brother Tyler.
He does. I remember Tyler being a little taller though than Kirby.
Yeah. But probably 6'4".
Yeah.
Kirby listed at 5'10", 210 pounds. And Duda lines one, base hit. Lagares around third, heading home. Renfroe's got a great arm. He throws it toward third, and out by a mile is Flores. Hunter Renfroe with his 5th outfield assist of the year. One of the best right field arms in the game. But Duda with an RBI hit. 3 hits and 3 RBIs for Lucas, as Lagares scores to make it 9-3 Mets after 7. I'd speak with Rich Grillo in Massapequa or James Panaro in Bethpage today. By New York Community Bank and the NYCB family of banks. Visit them at mynycb.com. And by Hyundai, the Hyundai Better Than Ever sales event with the best total savings on select models in Hyundai's history is going on now at your Hyundai dealer. For the 26th time this year, Jerry Blevins comes out of the Mets bullpen.
But he hasn't pitched in a couple of days, so out there to get some work here with the 6-run lead.
So 26 appearances in 43 games. That puts him on pace for 98 appearances this year. Ryan Schimpf takes a first pitch curveball for a strike. That's brought the lefty Smoker in to face Schimpf in the 6th inning. That didn't work. Smoker's first pitch, Schimpf hit out of the ballpark for his 11th home run of the season. And he fouls back the fastball, and it's 0-2. Smoker worked an inning, gave up just that home run. Paul Sewald gave up a couple of hits on the 7th, but no runs. After Matt Harvey went the first 5, allowing 2 runs, 3 hits. And Matt is in line for his 3rd win of the year and the 32nd of his major league career, which would put him back over 500 for his career. Good curveball to get Schimpf, and Blevins has a strikeout. 1 away. That's 10 strikeouts for Met pitchers tonight.
Well, his breaking ball has been spot on for almost all of the year. Comes right at the left-hander and makes that nice turn, and also the speed differential gets him out in front. We need a Blevins watch. As soon as he comes on, we need something at the bottom just to show 26 game pitch. Forget about the stats. 26 game pitch on a pace for 94.
Pace for 98.
98. Yeah.
I mean, the other day he was on a pace for 100. You know, there's only been one pitcher in history to throw in 100 games in a season.
And you couldn't get 2 different body types than Mike Marshall and Jerry Blevins. Mike Marshall was a husky guy that looked kind of like a bodybuilder, and you got long and lean Jerry.
You know what they have in common? Both brilliant.
Yeah, right.
You know? I mean, Marshall, with his master's in kinesiology, may have been a doctorate, I'm not certain, had a great understanding of his arm and his physiology, and it was one of the reasons he was able to pitch in 106 games in a season. 2-1 to Renfroe. That's lined toward the right field corner, and Renfroe's got himself an extra base hit. Second double of the night for Hunter Renfroe.
Renfroe can run a little bit too. I was watching him make the turn. Fastball in, goes the other way, and keeps it fair. I mean, this is a pretty big kid with a nice gait.
7th hit of the night for San Diego. Now Corey Spangenberg, who's been up 3 times, grounded out twice, popped up the other one. He's driven in a run. And the curveball almost hit him.
I don't know how it didn't.
This will likely be Blevins' final batter. Terry brought him in to face the 2 left-hand hitters, Schimpf and Spangenberg, with Renfroe in between them. You have right-hand hitting to follow. Hedges, then the switch hitter Ibar. Fastball off the plate, 2-0 to Spangenberg.
There's Fernando Salas in the bullpen.
Here's a strike. Brad Hand, former Marlin, is up in the bullpen. Here's a curveball for a strike. 2-2 to Spangenberg.
There's nothing you can do as a hitter when it's 9-3 and a 2-1 count and he throws you a curveball for a strike. No way you can be looking for that pitch.
And he struck him out with the curveball. So a pair of strikeouts bracketing the double by Renfroe, and that'll do it for Blevins' tenure in the game. He took care of the 2 left-hand hitters as required. Mets make a double switch. T.J. Rivera is on the field. He'll be joined by Fernando Salas. 9-3 Mets in the 8th. We'll be right back. Game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Let's make a double switch. T.J. Rivera will play first base and bat 9th, and Fernando Salas will try and get the final out in the 8th.
I thought that was a really interesting comment. I know you guys were talking about this weekend that Terry Collins kind of fessed up that he might have overused. No, not might have. He did overuse Fernando Salas, and Salas trying to get back into form.
Looked much better on Saturday.
Yep.
Came into a real mess on Saturday night behind Zach Wheeler into a bases loaded situation. Got 3 hitters in a row out with only 1 run scoring. Facing Austin Hedges, who's 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. And fastball off the plate, 1-1. Both Steven Matz and Seth Lugo pitched on rehab tonight. Neither one of them had a pretty line, so there's every reason to think that both will need at least one more tune-up as they try and work their way back. Rivera comes back for a look, but that's out of play. You know, the Mets have had so many injuries over the last, I don't know, 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And there's been a tendency at times to talk about the cavalry coming, and there's been a tendency at other times for Terry to shut that talk off and say, hey, who's here is who's here, and that's what we have to win with. And it feels as though they've reverted to the cavalry coming talk.
Well,
and that's dangerous.
I think it's dangerous. A couple reasons. One is that you don't know what you're getting when they do come back. And second, even more important, Gary, for a manager, how do you keep your players that are with you now intact if you continue to talk about other players coming? I mean, it's almost like you're denigrating the players that are with you, that we need these new players because the guys I have can't do the job. That's not been the case.
Salas strikes out Hedges with a high fastball. So Salas gets the out that he's asked to achieve. And we go to the bottom of the 8th. Another chance for Michael Conforto, who already has 2 home runs tonight. That's up 9-3. Brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Brad Hand on to pitch the bottom of the 8th. Rene Rivera takes a slider for a strike.
Well, Brad Hand had a good year last year. He's having an even better year this year. Darren Balsley, the pitching coach, has been here forever with the San Diego Padres, has him throwing his breaking ball so much more and more effectively.
Throwing his slider 43% of the time, which is far more than he threw it in Miami. Rene is 1 for 3 tonight, robbed of a hit on a fine play by Will Myers his last time up. He drove in a run in the 7-run first inning for the Mets, their biggest first inning since 2004. And quickly 0-2 to Rivera. TJ Rivera on deck, batting in the 9 spot. And then Michael Conforto trying to become the first player not named Yoenis Cespedes to hit 3 home runs in a game since Lucas Duda a couple of years ago. Cespedes did it in 15, and he did it again in April this year. And it bounces away from Hedges 1-2. 2-2. By the way, we were talking about the Mets and how they've publicly talked about injured players. One of the things that has transpired this year in the last few weeks is now a reluctance to put timetables on players. That's something Sandy Alderson started a couple of weeks ago.
You know, honestly, I think it's a smart thing because I think here the guys, the men and women that follow this team really do their due diligence and hard work to find out when these players are coming back for the fan base. And
that's strike 3 called. Rene Rivera caught looking.
The hard part is, you know, you hope that there's not a snarkiness when a guy doesn't come back, you know, and
that's what they fear. They don't want to be putting out a date, and then when the date doesn't work out, then be called to task for it.
I say do what some of the NFL coaches do. I know Belichick does this. I don't talk about injured players. I mean, that is where it's going to go at some point, right?
That's, you know, in hockey, they won't even tell you what body part is hurt.
That's right.
Upper body injury, lower body injury. Here's TJ batting for the first time. TJ's bat has cooled down after a red-hot streak. And as a result, he has recently lost some playing time after playing every day for 3 weeks. Wilmer Flores getting more of the reps right now. TJ Rivera from Lehman High School in the Bronx, and tomorrow his high school coach is going to join us.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe we'll talk about how TJ almost got cut from the JV team.
Oh, really?
I mean, we've talked a lot about how difficult his path has been, but think about that. Guy's in the big leagues. He came within an eyelash of getting cut from his JV team in high school.
Jeez.
It's a great success story. I was thinking the other night, I don't know if you saw the play he made Saturday night, diving stop at third base, just completely laid out to his left.
Yeah, I did see it.
I was thinking probably the first time he made that play, it was playing on concrete.
That's how he gets as tough as he is.
So it's easy to do it when you're on a
right.
beautifully manicured dirt infield. And he strikes out on the breaking ball in the dirt. Back-to-back strikeouts for Brad Hand, and there are 2 out. Coming up tonight after the post-game, Geico Sports Night, OTAs. I believe that's the 3rd time I've said OTAs tonight. NFL news and all the playoff picture in the winter turn spring sports, almost summer.
Well, what is an OTA, Gary?
That's workouts.
Workouts.
You're asking me what it stands for?
We're being told by the truck, off-season training activities.
Your guess is as good as mine. Here's Conforto, who has 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 3 hits tonight. Organized team activities.
I mean, what do you get? Like warm milk and cookies afterwards? That's what that sounds like.
Do they have disorganized team activities
Organized
too?
team activities.
Oh, and Conforto is hit by the breaking ball. That one got away from hand. Certainly no intent there to hit him with a slider. But Conforto is struck, and the Mets have a 2-out base run.
Well, right on the 0 for Conforto. Nowhere to go. Had to take his medicine there, and on base 4 times again in this game.
So Jose Reyes steps in. Reyes is a hard 1 for 4 tonight. Hit one to the wall in right center his last time up that Renfroe ran down. Now batting right-handed. Game 2 of this series tomorrow night. Robert Gazelman, who made a very nice relief outing the other night, will get back into the starting rotation. He'll be opposed by Jared Cosart. 6 o'clock here on SNY.
One thing I noticed about Gazelman, once he went in that bullpen, he went to attack mode when he came in games. They should treat his start the same.
Mets had an off day on last Thursday, and they had an off day yesterday, which allowed them to rejigger their pitching staff. They're going to give DeGrom and Wheeler an extra day. Next time they need their 5th starter will be Saturday in Pittsburgh, and for the moment Tommy Malone is still penciled in for that start. But when asked about it today, Terry Collins certainly allowed enough room that you think that if there's a better option, they might try and figure out what that is.
That's a tough thing to do, huh? When you're getting asked and you might know that there might be a change, but you certainly don't want your pitcher to know.
Along the left field line, Spangenberg comes over and retires Reyes. That retires the side, and that sends us off to the 9th at Citi Field. Mets with a 9-3 lead. Ninth inning, Mets trying to grab the opener of this series from the Padres. 3 outs to get. Fernando Salas gotten out in the 8th. He'll stay on for the 9th. And Eric Ibar takes a strike. Ibar is 1 for 3. Nobody up in the Mets bullpen, so Salas is going to be asked to close this game. And he quickly gets ahead on Ibar, 0-2. Alan Cordoba is out on deck to pinch hit. Cordoba, another one of the Padres Rule 5 picks. Up and away, 1-2. Salas trying to finish it off for Matt Harvey, who went 5 through 103 pitches in those 5 innings, so you know it wasn't smooth sailing. But he only allowed 2 runs and 3 hits. He did walk 4, but struck out 6. And certainly another step in the right direction for Matt, who finished well. Ibar slugs one to center, chasing Lagares back, but he's there. 1 out. Let's see what's coming up on WB Mason post-game live. Gary Apple, Nelson Figueroa. All right, gentlemen, now it's Alan Cordoba, who had never played above rookie ball before the Padres got him in the Rule 5 draft. And as you see from those numbers, he has held his own. It's been a very pleasant surprise.
Well, I think Miguel Diaz, who pitched in today's game, the other Rule 5, there's 3 on the San Diego team. I don't think he pitched a bit above Midwest League.
Cordoba takes inside. Well, they feel as though Cordoba, who's just 21, is a tremendous athlete, and eventually, after he presumably goes back to the minor leagues next year, that he could have a real bright future. But you know, you're taking an enormous flyer on a guy who hasn't even been to A-ball yet, and he lines one over shortstop. Back goes Reyes to grab it, and that's the 2nd out. So Salas has set down the first 2 in the ninth. And the Padres are down to their final out with Manuel Margot coming up. Well, the Mets set the tone in this game with 7 first-inning runs, chasing Jhoulys Chacín, who was unable to complete that first inning. And the rest has flowed from there. Salas has faced 3 and retired all 3. 1 more to get. And Margot takes a fastball for a strike.
Salas pouring the strikes in.
Margot had a base hit his last time up in the 7th against Paul Sewall. Cutter off the plate, 1-1. Mets trying to win for their 3rd time in the last 4 games after their 7-game losing streak that they limped home with. 1-2 out of 3 from the Angels. First and second games of series haven't been as much haven't posed as much difficulty as 3rd games of series for the Mets.
You really could write a whole book on the 3rd game of series so far and the drama that has happened in those games.
Injury, comebacks, not in a good way.
No.
2-2 to Margot. And the Padres are down to their last strike. Two-two. Too high. Now Hervis Solarte would be next. 3-2, and Margot strikes out, and the ball game is over. Salas finishes it off by retiring 4 in a row. Met pitchers struck out 13 tonight, but the big news was the first inning when the Mets put up a 7 spot, their biggest first inning in 13 years. Big night for Michael Conforto as the Mets beat the Padres 9-3.
Well, again, Michael Conforto led the game off with a home run for the Mets. He came up with 2 outs and runners on 2nd and 3rd. and got another hit in that first inning to drive in 3-4 total for the game. 2 home runs by Conforto on base 4 times, and Harvey had enough for his 3rd win.
First win since April the 11th for Harvey as you check out the game summary presented by Verizon. His 3rd win of the year. Gave up just 3 hits over his 5 innings of work. Conforto, a career-high 4 RBIs. His 4th leadoff home run of the year and another to boot as the Mets win for the 3rd time in their last 4 games, winning 9-3. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Katz Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwell.edu/cats. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $47,500. Victorious night for the Mets as they score early and beat the Padres 9-3. More coming up from Citi Field in just a moment.